Are you ready?
Let's get it. Here we go.
It's about to go down. Real Talk with Pasha B.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Real Talk with Pasha B. Pasha B here, live and direct on this here good afternoon. I am with the one, the only, no other, Sheneka.
Hey, Pasha.
Hey, Sheneka. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It has. I kind of feel, I kind of feel messed up that it's been this long. But practice makes perfect, and life happens. So
I think life been happening to all of us in the meantime, in between time.
Yeah. Life, life. Capital L, capital I, capital F and E has been happening to us all. But what's been going on with you? You know what I'm saying? 2021 came in like a raging bull. And yeah, we got some things to talk about. But what's been going on with you?
We do. I was on the sick and shut in list for a little bit, but my bounce back strong, so I'm good. It wasn't COVID. I'm good.
I was gonna say, please, disclaimer.
Disclaimer, not that, but yeah, the bounce back was strong. Other than that, look, I think I'm nesting now. I'm just doing stuff around the house, switching out flooring and furniture and just all that crap, yard work. Well, let me stop. I'm paying somebody to do it.
Because I was about to be like, Sheneka's not doing any of that. But she will put a coin up for that to happen. So yeah, I think a lot of us have gotten into our COVID routine. Sucks to say that.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna be here for a while. I might as well. I think some people got a head start on their COVID routine in 2020 because a lot of people did a lot of new things that they probably didn't have time to do pre-COVID. Like you said, you're doing some things around the house, and people have opened up new businesses and went to school if school was open for them, and got degrees and certificates and married and all of that stuff within this time period. So. And having COVID babies.
And babies.
And that was so inappropriate.
Yeah, some of that
Corona babies.
Some of that has been going on as well. I think I have been kind of doing some of the same. One thing that I am doing during this COVID time is something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, but we're going to talk about housing during COVID.
I don't envy the buyers.
I don't either. But what I can tell you is that I think there has been, some content that has come out, some projects. One being Coming to America, right? Coming to America 2, to be exact. So as we know, the original Coming to America came out well over 20
years ago.
I was going to say 30 years ago. This is a sequel to the original 30 years later.
Yeah. So going back to what I've been doing, trying to catch up because I'm not a big movie person. So it took me a minute to, get around to watching it. I saw a lot of the feedback that people were giving on social media, and it spans the spectrum, whether they loved it, hated it, and everything in between. What'd you think about it?
So I am as well someone who doesn't necessarily jump on a project or a film or a show when it absolutely comes out. So it took me a while. It debuted on March 5th on Amazon Prime. I believe that was the original. I know some listings.
We super late.
Yeah. Some listings say that it came out in I think December or some part of 2020. I don't know if it came to the United States in March, but however, we were able to view it on Amazon Prime. I will say that with the mixed reviews going out there, I'm going to say that I enjoyed it. As we know, this is a star-studded project. So some of the returning talent that was in the part 2, of course, we had Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, John Amos, James Earl Jones, and Shari Headley. All right. Then we had some newcomers. Wesley Snipes came on, new to the project. Kenya Barris, Leslie Jones. Also, Tracy Morgan and Prince Akeem's son, his offspring, was Jermaine Fowler.
And can we talk about how they just threw Morgan Freeman in there? Like,
Morgan. And how dare I? How dare I not include Mr. Freeman as a newcomer? Right, because that was a throw-in. That was just like, ha. I liked it. So overall, I did like it. I think that some people expected so much of it because of the iconic first film. And I don't think I went into it expecting what I got from the first film. I think if we watch things at the present time or at the time it's been created and enjoy it for that, I don't think that we could have expected 30 years ago Coming to America in 2021. I'm not sure if that would have worked. So I think that you have to go into it with an open mind frame and receive it as it's being presented to you in this format in 2021. So I actually thought it was dope. Rotten Tomato, some people kind of use that platform as a gauge. I will say that Rotten Tomato didn't like it at all. Oh, wow. So the tomato meter, which is basically comprised of critics' reviews, gave it a 49 out of 100. And the audience score was lower, was 40% out of 100. So how did you like it?
It was cute. Much like you, I didn't go in with any expectation. In my head, I knew they couldn't replicate what they did, or my perception of it wouldn't have been the same as the first movie. But overall, I thought it was entertaining enough. One of the things I did not like about it. So I watched it twice. The second time, I counted the number of times bastard child was referenced. 10 times in the movie. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
And why? Yeah. Why not? Because I don't think ideally it was a true definition of who he was. A bastard child. Well, and so what's the definition of a bastard child?
And so, I had to do what you do, Wiki. It's an illegitimate child or a child born to unmarried parents.
Okay. So the second part, I think I was probably taking the definition from no source, but in my head, it was a child born out of wedlock.
Yeah, unmarried parents.
I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. What I meant was
just started drinking, Pasha. You just took 2 sips.
Right. What I meant was a illegitimate child born outside. Like if 2 people are married.
Oh, the side child, the side baby child.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So
yeah. So that's the definition. But the way it was used in the movie was very derogatory. Like,
oh yeah,
the bastard child. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
10 times we had to reference the bastard child 10 times. And I just didn't, sit well.
Okay. Overall,
I felt like it was unnecessary. Especially, I think, since this was supposed to be somewhat of a family movie. Since it was now,
was this a family movie?
Well, I say that because if I'm not mistaken, the first one was rated R, and this one was rated PG-13.
I'm just gonna say again that the ratings, watching it in the context as it is in 2021, I think they have stretched that PG-13 content definition a lot farther than what it was 30 years ago. I don't know if I would get my kids together, young kids, and be like, hey, let's watch this.
And I bet you a whole bunch of people did.
I think they did. And they probably was like, because the first one was so good, they probably even wanted their children to kind of get that semblance of watching nostalgia. And no, I don't think I would have. No. But I didn't check the rating. So you're saying that,
Mommy, what's a bastard child? Like, who even used that term? Like, really?
I think it was used for the intention of, I don't want to say like a red flag or to get attention, but it was used in a comedic way to drive home a point. That's what I think that they were trying to do. That didn't bother me, because I know that they used it more than once, but I didn't know that they used it 10 times. I think when I did hear them say it, I kind of was like, well, my gosh, like, did you have to reference, or do you have to keep referencing the child in that manner? But I think I kind of let it go in one ear and out the other, because there were so many other outlandish things happening. For example, when I saw Eddie Murphy and it seemed like he did the Kappa step or whatever step every time he walked into some place, I found like other little things so distracting or so out there that I just kind of took the bastard child as another thing that they threw on the wall as one of those outlandish things. But
yeah. And Rafiki personified. Look, I was like, did we have to bring Rafiki to human life? Because that was too much.
Yes, it was. So I think Coming to America too, people can appreciate it for what it is in 2020, 2021. And
shout out to Rick Ross for getting them coins.
Oh, yeah. He made that work for him. So definitely hustler's ambition on that one. But yeah, I think Coming to America 2 can be appreciated for whatever you can get from the film, whether it be nostalgia or looking at the new storyline, things of that nature. Definitely, I would recommend that people watch it, but I would recommend that they watch it and definitely just be open and don't expect anything.
Yeah, just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. All right, so as I had said before, we were going to be talking about all of the foolishness kind of going on in this COVID, in these COVID streets. And one thing that kind of stood out to me, because I'm in it at this point in time, is the current, air quote, housing crisis that some people may or may not know about. I use the word crisis because I don't think it's a crisis unless you're a part of it. People who are watching from the outside kind of just like, oh, okay. But the current housing crisis stems from, and I think there may be two facets of the housing crisis going on. Both of them being impacted by COVID. One would be the fact that there is an eviction moratorium that is allowing, whether it be lessees or homeowners, not to be evicted or foreclosed upon during this time period. So the moratorium was due to end on March 31st, 2021, and it has been extended actually, I believe, until June 30th, 2021. There is another 3 months that I guess they're going to evaluate and possibly see what's going on with the vaccine, all of that stuff, and then take a look at what they should do with that. And again, it's halting to a degree either people as renters not being evicted or homeowners not having to be foreclosed upon. And I just want to touch base on this right quick. We talked offline about a story out of, I think it's Riverside, California. Remember I was telling you about that couple who purchased the home for $540,000. It was a steal. The sellers of the home decided that they were not going to leave once the house was closed upon. So the buyer would not be able to enter. The seller actually stayed in the home, became, air quote, a tenant / squatter. Well, I just saw an article that came out that said that basically when it went to the news, they kind of got the neighborhood behind them where they were keeping an eye on the property. They had an opportunity where they were alerted that the squatters had left the home. They had some luggage, they packed up, left the home. The correct owners of the home were notified. They went in. They had
breaking and entering.
No, because
they have a key.
They actually own the home, right? So with that being, they're the rightful owners of the home. They had an opportunity to go in. They changed the locks, and what they were actually was able to secure the property from the squatters who had been in there for about 20 months. I think they said maybe it was 15 to 20 months at this point in time. Yeah, they closed, and it's probably closer to 15 months. They closed in January of 2020, and they were not able to gain occupancy of a home that they have legal ownership of in 15 months. So that's one crisis that people may be dealing with, not necessarily from the fact of home ownership and you can't gain access to a property, but of the fact that if you are a homeowner, a landlord, and you have people who are not going to leave because they are being covered under this eviction moratorium, not because they are unable to pay. Some people are using it to their advantage and they're living off of people because that's what these people did.
Stacking that dough.
Stacking the dough. So the other part of the housing crisis is because of the low interest rates, it has made becoming a homeowner a very viable option for a lot of people. So with that being said, you have so many people who are out here trying to buy a house with so few, in so much less inventory. And inventory will be available homes, whether that be resales or new builds. So it creates crisis. It creates havoc.
It creates demand.
And
gives them a reason to do what? Raise the price?
Raise the price. And raise the prices by astronomical dollar amounts, truth be told. So this is kind of where I'm falling into to the situation. I am a brave person who has decided to buy a house during these COVID times. I was going to buy a house whether COVID had happened, yes or no. I just basically had a timeline that I was going to work on. And my timeline, unfortunately, happens to be during this time period. So to chart what has been happening with me, and hopefully it will be I don't want to say a lesson, but it could be a peek in for other people who are deciding to purchase what they may encounter. So my timeline to purchase a home was between March and May of 2021. And when I say purchase, I'm talking about closing, ownership, keys, all of that stuff. So Pasha, thinking that she was going to be proactive in the situation, started to look at homes, the available inventory, whether that was resales or new builds, about in October or November of last year, right? Just looking. The inventory kind of was out there. You could pick and choose. Prices were reasonable. So going into the new year, because just thinking about my timeline, I'm like, I know I don't really need to actively get into the game until about January, and then be able to slowly do whenever things happen, they happen. And I wouldn't be paying for two places at one time. Right. So January comes around. I think I do the smart thing by securing my financing first, right? So before I go out there and physically look at a home, I say I'm going to make sure that when I find the home that I want, that I have financing in order, so that it's not I like this house, but got to jump through these other tapes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So financing went easy breezy.
When it got pre-qualified.
I got pre-qualified and it no problem. And I didn't think that was going to be a problem, but the interest rates are what I was chasing, because as of last year, the interest rates were at such a low time period. I thought I was fighting time, right? I needed to go ahead and get this done. All right. So mid-January, pre-approved, no problem. Later part of January, hooked up with the agent, started seeing homes immediately. Did not see anything that I was really interested in until about the third week of shopping. At this point in time, I realized shit was getting real. Okay. So from looking at inventory online late last year to even when I started in January, there was a noticeable decrease in the amount of available homes that I deemed possible potential in that short period of time. So now, if you paying attention to the timeline, I'm kind of in February, and the homes, I don't want to say they're drying up, but it's kind of like,
There's a quick turnover. Not even
the quick turnover. The value or the quality of homes that I saw 2 or 3 months ago, it's not necessarily the quality of homes I'm seeing now because of the quick turnover, right? They're just gone, flying. All right, so I get into the ring, see a home, put an offer in. This is one thing that potential home buyers are going to have to understand going into this game right now. Seller's market. There is no way to get around this. In order to even get to the end process where your bid or your offer is a viable one to the seller, you're going to have to offer over asking. I'm not talking about $100. I'm talking about $10,000+ more, right? So for example, if a house is $300,000 asking, depending on the neighborhood, depending on the amenities, depending on what's in the home, you at least probably need to offer $310,000 just to get to the table for them to consider your offer once they get all the offers together. If you know that this is an area that's booming, or you know that this is a great property, you may need to start at minimum $320,000. So $20,000 over asking. Okay. So once you put your offer in, going over asking, there's also some other instrumental things in the deal that you may need to sweeten the pot. They have something that's called option money. Option money is basically bribe money. It's no other way to call it. So when you're putting in an offer, you can elect to give option money, which is giving the seller money, no matter how much you give.
That sounds unethical. That sounds like a bribe.
It is bribe money. It is. So when sellers are looking, once they get all their offers in, and let me give you this bit of data as well. I will say on a decent to nice property, there are at least 10 offers minimum that's going to be put in on this one property. So those are your odds right there. How do you sweeten the pot for yours to stick out? So this option money is saying, okay, so along with yada, 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 along with your $20,000 of what you're
over asking.
So I'm going to offer $320,000 for this home. You're only asking $300,000. I'm also going to give you X amount of money as option money that if you accept my offer, I'm going to give that to you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Has nothing to do with the actual price of the home. It has to do with, for considering and accepting my offer, you get this option money. There is also things called like there's a due diligence period in which there's a certain time where if you're going this route of appraisal, financing, things of that nature. One thing would be to, and earnest money as well, if that's an option. One thing would be to cut the due diligence period of where you'll get your earnest money. Nope. Earnest money, I think that can be manipulated. It's usually within 3 days. You can just probably give the money up front. I'm not sure if that's something that can be leveraged where you can reduce that. What is something that can be reduced is the contingency time period in which you will do the appraisal. So normally it's like 10 days. You can cut it down to say, hey, I'll get the pre stuff done in a shorter period of time. And that's kind of considered a more appetizing or pretty offer for a seller. Because at the end of the day, the seller wants to get through the deal fast and they want to get their money. Another hot item would be people paying cash, because there's no financial waiting period or due diligence kind of time period that needs to happen. Normal financing, which would be whether that's FHA, conventional, VA, if you're getting financed for the home, you have to get that done within a certain period of time. But there's steps that happen with that. If you have a cash buyer can say, hey, for this $300,000 house, I'll offer you, they can go either way. They can go, I'll offer you $280,000. They can say, I'll offer you $300,000, or they can say, I'll offer you $350,000 cash, right? And put yourself in that situation as a seller. I'm gonna offer you.
Take the cash, please.
You're going to take the cash offer and keep it moving. So you're going to have those people who have now entered saying that they're looking to be a homeowner if they're going through financing methods that could just push them off to the side, and they may not even be a viable option because someone's paying cash.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's a lot of things going on. But during my process, what I'll say is that I've had to put in, I think, a total of 6 offers. Out of the 6 offers, 2 of them got accepted. Had to make a decision between the 2, went with 1. That seller got on some bullshit kind of towards the end of the contingency period after the appraisal and stuff like that, and kind of, just started to talk in a different language other than what they were talking in the beginning. Nonetheless, everything is going good with the home, and closing will be happening sometime soon. But I will say during this process with COVID, so there are restrictions of even just seeing a home. I went to a home one time where everything is kind of by appointment, and they want to make sure that people are social distancing. So sometimes, depending on the property, there are lines of people that are waiting to get into this house, which is kind of different from the norm. The fact that there is low inventory and new houses or new homes are not being able to be built as fast as the demand of homes, the need for homes. Mm-hmm. So you would have people who would normally do resale and not do the new home method or the new home route because there aren't enough resales, or the resales are going so fast. They then had to go over to new homes. The new home community or the builders are not able to build houses fast enough for demand. So that's bouncing people back over to resale, which is then bouncing people to the posture in which sellers can expect $20,000 over asking, $100,000 over asking, not assisting with any closing costs, not paying for any possible repairs, just really, I'm going to say, manipulating the system at this point in time.
And we talked about that also offline, Pasha, because I know my thought process is a lot of people are moving. Right now we're in Atlanta, but I know this is happening all over. So people are moving to some of these cities that tend to be a little more affordable, whether it's Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, and coming from where they're coming from, like I'm coming from South Florida. You have a lot of people moving from New York, New Jersey, or what have you. And, we're looking at the houses like, $200,000, that's all this house is worth, right? Because I know back when I bought my house back in the day, it was less than $200,000. But then you have these transients moving here. Like I'm not one. I'm a peach now. I've been here long enough.
Oh, you claiming that? You claiming that? Oh, okay.
I'm a peachy orange or orangey peach, whatever. A hybrid.
All
so
GMO.
So even in Miami, what $200,000 is going to get you. It's going to get you a box.
Yep. 1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet with a carport, not a garage. So coming here and seeing that you can get a 4-bedroom, 3-bath for $250 or $300, they're looking at that like that's a steal. So
Absolutely.
even if they have to pay over asking or the little bribe money you're talking about on the side, is still cheaper than where they came from.
Absolutely.
So they're willing to pay it. Those of us who've been here, a couple of decades or so, we're looking like
they messing the game up.
They messing the game up.
People coming from, whether it be, like you said, more, I don't want to say affluent, but people that are used to paying higher prices for homes just because of cost of living or whatever is going on, whether it be LA, whether it be New York, things of that nature. They can sell a home that's a brownstone or something that looked like an apartment for $400,000. They didn't have a driveway, I didn't even say a garage. They didn't have a driveway. They were parking on the street. You know, it could have been a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom brownstone, and they sold it for $400,000. And they're able to come to Metro Atlanta and buy a property that's 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, blase blah, depending on where it is, for like $300,000. And yeah, they're willing to go over asking, or if they're going to go with something a little bit more reasonable because they're coming from a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. If they're doing a 4-2 or something like that for $200,000, $250,000, yeah, they can give $300,000 because you know what? They still got $100,000 that they could play with. So yeah, if you're deciding to go out there and purchase a home during this time period, I will say that, you know, we're kind of on the cusp of the interest rates being historically low as they've been in the recent time. If you can do it, home ownership is always a good thing. So I'm not going to sway people from not doing it. I would just say that there are a couple of disclaimers. Be mindful that there are significant housing price increases that are going up, even in the last few months. I will say, if I had to put a number on it, housing prices have increased maybe at least $10,000, at least, from a few months ago. So again, if a house was $250,000 or $300,000, it's $310,000, $315,000, $320,000 because the sellers know that they can get that off the rip.
Yeah, I think I read it's about 20,000 over.
Yep, I would say
what
about
it was just I want to say either last year or 2 years ago.
Also, the rates are increasing. So the longer that you take, the longer that the rate may not be as favorable as it was, I'm going to say, in the summer of 2020. So, you know, just pay very careful, pay careful attention, close attention to the rates. There is possibly going to be a bidding war, right? You're going to have to put your gloves on and be in it. I won't say for the long run, but be in it for the dirty fight. My agent told me that one thing that you should not do during this process is take anything personal, right? So with that being said, you can go in with this preconceived notion, or you can go in with this relationship during the process. And when that seller puts on their business hat and decides that they want to call for the best bid, highest and best is actually what it's called, and they want it in a day or two. So a property came out hypothetically on Monday and they're calling for highest and best offer by Wednesday. Don't be surprised, because at the end of the day, it is all about business. Even going through the process, what I was going through, where I would say that the seller kind of changed up their tune, at the end of the day, I had to take a step back, and this is about business. So I needed to do what was best from a business perspective for me. You're going to have to offer over asking. I don't know any other way to do it. Now, I'm not telling you to do 20 grand over. In the process as well, you're going to have to do what's best for you financially, but be prepared to go over the asking price. Sellers are very aware that this is a seller's market and they are going to take advantage for it. So I would say map out a plan for what's best for you and be very vocal about that with all parties involved, whether that be your lender or definitely your agent. But your agent is the person that's going to be representing you if you decide to use an agent. Everybody doesn't. So be very vocal and honest about what your expectations are and what you're looking at. And this is going to suck. And this is going to suck. But possibly we could be looking at a different type of crisis in the next few years, because the housing market is going to potentially be overinflated, right? So you went out there and you fought like Tyson and you won the round and you won the house and you paid $350,000 for a house that is only worth technically $300,000. And what happens when the amount of your, I'm going to say, mortgage, or the amount of value that you've paid from this home doesn't level out to the actual value of the home because of so many variables? For example, in a community, you know, the housing, the homes being purchased could have been kind of around the appraisal amount and been on even keel with how it was supposed to be. But you had, let's say, cash, and you paid $50,000 more than what this house was supposed to be.
Well, I think it'll, and I don't know. So let me start by saying, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think all of this is kind of cyclical, because when I purchased my house 13 years ago, I purchased my house right before that 2008-9 crash. Mm-hmm. So literally I bought my house a year and a half later. The house 2 houses down was selling for half the price. Like, the houses in my subdivision were literally selling half price. And I was clutching all my pearls. Mm-hmm. Like, what the what? and listen, if I could have walked away from this house and let it go into foreclosure and bought the house next door for half price, I would have done that. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, yeah. But folks frown upon that. I wasn't in a position to do that. I'll say that. So I'm thinking it'll be cyclical. You're gonna have to ride it out, because that was 13 years ago, and now I'm seeing the bounce back.
And that's the point. So you're gonna have to stay into it for the long haul if you decide to jump in and be aggressive with your offer, because there's a possibility that in the short term you may not see that reward as fast. So, some people don't buy houses to stay in there for 13 years, 20 years, 30 years for the life of the mortgage. Some people buy a house for the here and now, and then they'll decide to keep it or they'll move on. So, just being mindful that this is a financial investment, and you always have to do what's best for you. But these COVID streets, they playing games. Don't get caught up. But yeah. That's what's been going on with me and this whole housing situation. Envy you. I don't envy myself. But on a brighter note, speaking of some things that we may be able to do because the streets outside is opening back up, kind of, sort of.
Outside is open.
Outside is open for some people. Spring break in Miami seemed like it was a bit much.
Listen, it was a lot much.
My sister happened to travel around that time, and she said when she was coming back, I think there were some people from Miami coming back to Atlanta. And the young people wanted to give the airline personnel issues with wearing their mask, right?
Were they flying Spirit?
I don't think they were flying Spirit. I don't think
there's always a video.
It's always a video.
About the Spirit flyers.
But it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure you didn't give these problems when you went down there, right? So now that you're coming back and the fun is over with, you're deciding, like, I just don't understand the people who are deciding to travel, because I don't think you or I have traveled air during this whole COVID time period. I think anybody who's deciding to travel, they just need to follow the guidelines, right? And not only want to say the guidelines, they need to follow the rules that are set forth, whether it be by TSA or by the airline that they booked their ticket with.
Or no.
The government.
The
federal government. Absolutely.
46.
He's not playing.
Yes.
When it comes to that. So the federal government, because before it wasn't, now 46 made it a federal thing,
requirement. But if you're traveling by air, any public mode of transportation, you have to wear a mask.
So I think we would just want to do this segment so that people are aware of kind of what to expect while traveling during COVID. We're talking about primarily air, and that would be internationally or domestically. One thing that I do want to point out is that I think a few days ago, the CDC kind of gave new guidance in regards to people who are fully vaccinated. So if you are considered fully vaccinated, and fully vaccinated means that you have either received one of the 1-dose vaccines or 2 of the 2-dose vaccines. And I believe if 2 weeks have gone by since that time period, you would then be considered fully vaccinated. And for domestic travel, I don't want to put anything out there to say that I am for this. What I will say is that the CDC is saying that for the most part, you can travel for leisure, right? By you can now
are being very
hey, you about to make me throw allegedly up there. That
just put it out there, alleged. No, I have my notes.
Read your notes. Go ahead, Sister Soldier. Read them.
Okay. So let me get my notes. So I think this is for international. All air passengers coming into the United States, including vaccinated passengers, are required to have a negative test no more than 3 days before travel. They suggest you get tested 3 to 5 days after travel and self-quarantine for 7 days after travel. You think that's happening?
Hell no.
You think they flew back from spring break and self-quarantine? Forget self-quarantine. Do you think they went and got a COVID test after the fact?
Oh, no. They went out that week. They went out that night.
Yeah. So this is on the CDC website. And then it says if you don't get tested, self-quarantine for 10 days. Now, I'm going to read this, and this raised an eyebrow when I read it.
Okay.
It says masks are required on planes, buses, all those forms of transportation. Avoid crowds, stay at least 6 feet from others, wash hands, sanitize often. Now, a lot of the feedback that I've seen, especially on social media, I'm doing all of this. And we're going to go back to planes. And then you're going to pack a plane. Why am I standing 6 feet apart doing all of this? And then you're going to pack us on a plane. So that kind of goes against everything that you have shared with us. And I think that's causing a lot of the non-compliance because it seems like, kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Can I be funny? Does COVID survive at 30,000 feet in the air?
I don't know.
That's a little jokey joke. Shit, I don't think they know.
Oh, no. But what I also don't want, because I haven't traveled by air since this has gone on, is I also don't want you to be acting a monkey at 36,000 feet. Like, look,
Sheneka?
Buses, trains, okay, we good. But 36,000, I need you to sit down and comply because I don't need anything. I'm already, look, before COVID, I get a little antsy flying anyway. So it's not helping that people are turning up.
Right.
Turning up. It's foolishness. But yeah.
You said something in the beginning, and I think people may not know this. So they could potentially be traveling to countries that I'm going to say may have a more relaxed approach with COVID. Okay. And when I say more relaxed, I'm not even going to give the variances of relax. And let's talk about, we're definitely talking about international at this point in time.
Different. Yes.
So you went over there and hypothetically you didn't have to get a vaccine, or a vaccine wasn't required, or you tested and you went over there for 7 days. You said that if you are returning to the United States from international travel, you have to do what again?
You have to have a negative test no more than 3 days before travel. Now, I will share this with you. I have a...
Go ahead.
Listen, and you already know. I paid for a trip this summer to an international destination. And I paid for it last year thinking, COVID's going to come and go like Ebola and Zika and all of these other diseases. We good. I'm going to turn up in the summer 2021. And here we are. And Sheneka is looking real crazy right now because I'm like, do I want to do this?
So what are your options realistically for someone who may have booked something last year and they're getting to the point, because this is travel time, kind of, sort of. What are your options so that people are aware of what they could possibly expect? Now, I know your trip may have been a little bit more specific towards the travel group or whatever that you were doing, but are you able to postpone or cancel your trip because of COVID?
So, and I'm going to have to look into that a little more because right now I am past the refund deadline. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I have to have a conversation to see how that looks. If I decide to cancel, am I going to lose everything? And then, that really is a personal decision because in some cases I may be willing to forfeit it, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Sheneka. Well, what's your, and you did say it was I get that, with the personal decision. I also want to know what's your personal decision as it relates to currently traveling now, even though your trip is going to be like in a couple of months. How do you feel about traveling during COVID, air and international?
I'm not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable. So one reason, let's just say I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable more so with being on the plane for 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Maybe if it was an hour trip or an hour and a half, but I think my trip I think it's about 4 hours. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little uncomfortable with that. And the other thing, so let's get back to the
data.
Have a negative test no more than 3 days before travel. So they're doing the rapid test in the airport out of the country that I'm going to. When you come back? $50 to come back.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you can fly all day, but the United States says, oh, I don't care if you are a citizen. I don't care if you've been fully vaccinated, but if you want to come back home, you need to test negative. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, well, what if I go over there and,
get the COVID?
Not even get the COVID, but, some of the tests are, they have false positives, false negatives. You're right. What if I get caught up in that? And then I read in one of my travel groups that they have these, I'm just going to call it a COVID hotel, but they have these hotels specifically for people who test negative. And I'm thinking I need to do some more research. Who paying for this hotel? Right. So now that I'm stuck over here, do I have to pay extra? Or is this something that's provided by the government? I don't know.
And hypothetically, if you were to test positive, how long would you need to quarantine in that country for?
I don't know. I didn't see that. I want to say, I don't know why 10 days is coming to mind. But look, it's more than one night. I know that.
So who's incurring that expense?
Or catch that bill?
And catch that bill? Or do people know about it? Who's incurring the bill? And if it's different going to another country, especially one that you're not necessarily familiar with, like you're going over there as a tourist and knowing, okay, you're going to stay here for X amount of days. You're staying on this resort. if you're traveling in a group, you're going to be with these people, yada, yada, yada. So once everybody goes back home, and if you have a positive COVID test or something, what happens? Are you able to stay at the same resort that you were? Like you said, do you have to go to a COVID hotel that may be in a seedy part of the country? I'm just saying. I don't know if people are taking this into consideration.
I don't know. And the kid may have to forfeit them $1,000 and just.
Well, let me ask this question, because we've talked about this off air, and I don't know if I want to ask you what's your thought or your plan with it. But I am going to touch on the vaccine possibly being an option. So has that been considered in your travel? And she has completely rolled her eyes in the back of her mind and her head. I'm going to tell you this. I think everybody has to do their own research and make that determination on whether they're going to become vaccinated, yes or no. But because outside is opening up, is that an option? Is that an option?
You heard those crickets? You thought I froze, right? So I will tell you this. Very recently, I decided, more so than not, that I would go ahead. Not because I want to, for reasons that I'm not going to go into on air. But like you said, this is a personal decision for everyone. Yeah, so that's all. That's all I have, Pasha. Gotcha. That's all I have. All I have.
And so that's all. In closing this part out, what I also say is that I think that's what everybody has to come up and decide. Figure out their options. Figure out what it is.
And with that being said, let me just say this. So this is going to be so funny. So this is a throwback to our December edition of Real Talk with Pasha B. I have gone ahead and gotten my estate planning completed. Look. I went and got my estate planning completed. So yeah, my affairs are in order. So
Sheneka's telling you
I've had a full life, everybody.
She's about that life. Okay.
Look, I'm tired. I'm so sick of like this. And I know we talked, and I don't want to go too far into it, but and you bring this up all the time, just the mental toll that is being taken on people going through this process. And I know you and I'm going to speak for you. I think we're on the effects that we felt have been on the lighter side. And I'm sick of this shit, Bash. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. Enough is enough. That's how I kind of feel. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We do want people to maintain their health, because a lot of people are not here. And they were here last year, and they're not here now because of COVID. So we definitely want to make sure that people stay healthy and safe, and they think about everybody during the process and not themselves. If you're in a household where you have multiple people, especially ones that may be more susceptible to goddamn catching a cold at this point in time, you need to make sure that, you're making the best decisions for your household. But enough is enough. I'm kind of at my wit's end with this as well. So people should just do their research about the vaccine or their options and live life going forward based upon that. You know what I'm saying? I think the mind is a powerful thing, and it's a thing that has to be exercised just like your body has to be exercised. And with this, COVID has really stunted people's ability to keep their mental wellness together.
And it doesn't help, and I'm going to say this because this frustrates me more than anything. And I'm tired of people putting their 2 cents in. Like, I don't want to hear your 2 cents, right? So I think we all have the information. We've all processed the information. We've all received the information and processed it. I don't need you coming to me, oh, have you got vaccinated yet? Well, according to this and da-da-da-da-da, you really should. Da-da-da. Like, nobody wants to hear that because everybody has the information. You're not telling them anything that they haven't heard already. So I just feel like, for me, that's adding mental stress, because what I really want to say, you don't concern yourself with any other aspect of my life. Don't concern yourself with that. Especially I was going to say something really, really inappropriate, but I was joking with one of my friends who asked me, and I was like, well, damn, you got your STD panel back yet? Or did you get like, look, since we're going to go there, we passing diseases and viruses around. Like mind your business, because at the end of the day, this is a medical thing, right? And I do understand, and I think everybody else understands how it affects the masses. When you see me, I have my mask on. Look, I carry a bottle of alcohol and disinfectant wipe. You know, I do my due diligence in the meantime, but just keep it to yourself. Like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm sure you're adding stress and mental anguish to everybody else as well, to an already stressful situation. Nobody wants your 2 cents at this point. People have the information. Keep your freaking 2 cents to yourself. That's all. I'm done.
And I'm actually going to let that be the end of that. And the only thing that I'm going to add to that is, and that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb.
And that's on Mary Had a Little freaking Lamb.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Sheneka.
Yes, Pasha.
So there's this meme that's going around. It's like a calendar of, I don't want to use the word historical, but a calendar of events that have gone on this FY, like I'm at work.
Oh, exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
This calendar year. So
January was the insurrection.
February was Gorilla Glue Girl.
Gorilla Glue Girl. What was March?
Don't act. We're not gonna.
Oh, we're in April now.
Right. Who was March? Who was March, Sheneka?
Derek freaking Jackson. Look, I just want to send my thanks to the social media world. You all were thoroughly entertaining. You entertained my whole soul for at least a good week.
It was a good week. It was a good week, a good run. A good run. It was a good week. And that week of Derek Jackson was almost as entertaining. I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year that Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna broke up. I kid you not. And I don't even want to say they broke up, but they had their iconic moment on Instagram. Sheneka, I remember it like yesterday.
I know, because you called me at work with that foolishness. Like, have you seen? And I'm like, ma'am, I am diligently working. I do not know what you're talking about.
I wasn't working. I didn't do shit that day, Sheneka. I was thoroughly entertained by Instagram, because when I tell you he put all of the business out there, it was watching a train about to wreck. It was. And usually I don't stick around for those, but I did for this one, because he put it all out there, and I was just like, wow. And I think this Derek Jackson was another all out there situation. And we're going to touch on what happened, but that's not really why we're talking about it, because I think everybody has talked about it to every point. Like, every point has already been talked about hundreds of times, right? But for those that are under a rock, Derek Jackson, is he self-proclaimed, or did the peoples proclaim him as a relationship? What would you say he is?
Oh,
a relationship advice expert. Yeah. Well, he gained his success through social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. He may be on some other platforms, but he was giving relationship advice. And just like most of the men out there giving relationship advice, and I'm air quoting, their target audience is whom, Sheneka?
You bitter Black women. You lonely, bitter Black women who've been scarred, who had to fight all your life. All your life.
So he gained notoriety giving this relationship advice to women, telling women what it is that they need to put up with, not put up with, kind of hipping them to game on when a man does this, this is what it means, and yada, 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 right? So I'm going to say sometime in the month, either late February or beginning of March, middle of March, he started to, and I had to go back, Sheneka, he started to market that book that he had put out. This was right before, I believe, because I am not tapped into the streets. The streets have to tap me in when it happens. But somewhere right before all this stuff came out about his extramarital affairs, he started to promote this book titled How to Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other. All right. So in the middle of March, information came out leaking about him having extramarital affairs. I don't know what number they're up to at this point in time.
You said with an S, plural, affairs?
Mm-hmm. With the S and a pop at the end. Okay. Right after that stuff came out, he kind of, I think he thought he was doing damage control by saying that it wasn't true and kind of targeting one YouTube blogger or influencer, specifically saying that the information that she had put out, because she could have been the one to break that, was Tasha K, saying that what she was saying wasn't true. Kind of when she brought the receipts, he came out doing a video saying he had done some things, but he didn't actually have sex with anybody.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
And I remember in the video, because we talked about it, he was like, he had sex, but he didn't have sexual. It was something stupid. Like, I had sexual contact, but I didn't have sex. Sex is, what does that mean? I don't know.
You know what that means.
Ooh, dirty, dirty.
You know what that means.
So
he did not have intercourse.
He didn't have intercourse.
That's what he was suggesting.
So he did the video, and then the next day came out with his wife saying that the video that he put out the night before kind of wasn't telling the truth, and that he actually did have sex with other women during his relationship or his marriage with his wife. The interview was, or I'm going to take the video. The video was nothing other than weird as fuck, right? It was weird. It was weird. Because up until this time, I think their social media presence had kind of not been as put out there. So
the wife,
because he's all over social media, as we know. But him bringing his wife to couple in any experience hadn't been.
To stand by her man.
Are you how do you feel that she did stand by him? You could talk about it in third person like he did.
Well, Sheneka feels that if a woman chooses to stand by her man, then that's her prerogative to do so. And we're kind of leading into the actual topic of conversation. Whatever choice you decide to make, you just need to own all of that. So the problem I have, and not necessarily with her, but just in general, when you know what you're getting into, you know what you're dealing with, because based on the information, the social media investigators, since day one. I
was going to say, before you even get into that, just the fact that he's a man, right? Just the way that he's been marketing himself since day one, right? Mm-hmm. That to me was an issue. That to any person, all of the influencers, I'm not even going to say all their names, but there are a ton of males out there who market themselves as providing information to women, relationship advice to women. If you are truly here for the greater good, why are you not marketing that information, or why are you not providing that information to males? Why are you providing it to women?
Because that's where the money resides. Where the money resides. Mm-hmm. I don't think guys seek that information, especially on a social media platform where the person is telling their audience that men are the problem. You know, and I think overall, when you think of all of them, there's a certain look, you know, there's an aesthetic that women are drawn to. So not only the information that's being put out, and I don't even want to say that they're telling them what they want to hear, because some of the information, listen, shut your face, take a drink, take a sip. So what I'm about to say, I'm separating the message from the messenger.
Okay.
So if a crackhead tell you don't do crack because crack is bad for you, are you going to say, I ain't listen to that crackhead? No, he just gave you some good information, right? So I think sometimes the message is valid.
Got you.
I think they use everything in order to market themselves. So their physical presentation. So if I got to take my shirt off, or I have to go to the gym and get buffed, and you know, whatever it is they do to draw as many followers as possible, because that's what it is. It's about the numbers. It's a numbers game. So you have some women following them because of the look. You have some women following them for advice. You have some women following them for whatever reason. So I think they just tap into all of that. So yeah, I forgot your question. What?
The fact that she stood by him in this time, and you were segueing to what the actual topic was.
Yeah, and you mentioned you had an issue with just the presentation. You know that
them being together was weird. The video.
No. I'm sorry. You were talking about why wouldn't he market his message to men? That's what you were saying. So yeah, men not here for that, because based on what I've seen just over the years, men don't like Derek Jackson.
Men don't like Derek Jackson because the way that Derek Jackson is packaging his message. I would think that if Derek Jackson cared to provide vital information that would help the male-female relationship, with him being a male, he would understand how to market that information to males, right? Because you got enough people, air quotes, pumping information into women. Who's pumping information into men?
Is there a market for that? I guess that's my question.
Of course not. You know why? Because broken women are the best consumers. And someone told me that little adage. Men are not paying for that information. Not that they don't want it. They're not paying for that information the way that it's being packaged. Women, if you look at the numbers, women are probably the highest consumers of everything. Any and everything. So most, even if you're looking at a male-female relationship, yeah, men spend their money on the things that they want to. But if we're talking about adding up expenses for the house, just generally speaking, women are probably the person who spends the most money because they do most of their buying, right? So if you market it, you put it in a package pretty enough for a woman to buy it, women are going to buy it. I don't care if it's a banana. God damn it, put a bow on a banana, and some women are going to buy the banana because it got a goddamn bow on it. When a man may be like, that's just a banana. I don't need the banana with the bow. There was a whole bunch of red flags with Derek Jackson and some of these other influencers from day one. People decide not to pay attention to red flags.
I'm going back to your thought process. She playing into all of this. She's playing into all of this.
So just to be transparent, we had some technical difficulties, so we're going to come back around and we're good.
Oh, we're recording. My bad.
No.
Okay.
We put all this in there. We don't play around. But we were talking about just identifying red flags and from professional relationships, platonic relationships, romantic relationships. And Sheneka, you brought up something. So because we were talking about Mr. Derek Jackson, Sheneka went to his wife's page, Mrs. Danae Jackson, And one thing
in her Easter dress. And so first of all, she turned off all the comments. So which is interesting.
Is that a red flag?
I think it is, because to me that says you do not want you're not receptive to the feedback, even though I think there was a large segment of women that was high-fiving her. Like, girl, stand by your man. Do that.
So when I asked the question about you, how did you feel about her standing by him? And I agree with your sentiments in regards to, you just got to do what she got to do. I think one thing that people haven't quite had the ability to get a handle on is that you don't owe anybody any explanation, right?
That part. Including him.
He
didn't have to address it at all.
And when it comes to social media, shutting the fuck up is an option, right? You don't have to. The initial video that he put out, red flag to me, because I don't understand what I had sex, but I didn't have sex. What is that? What you're saying what you're saying doesn't even make sense, because I think we all are understanding of sex falls under an umbrella, right? So there's sexual intercourse, and then there are acts of sex. So with that being said, I don't even know if it made any difference that you differentiated. Oh, I ain't had sex. I had sex. It doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. So that's a red flag. Secondly, to hear that he was doing these videos possibly in front of the next chick's house, that's a friggin' red flag. The fact that he pinned his books with these videos that he did, that's a red flag. The fact that she went and did these subsequent videos in her No Limit Soldier outfit, that's a red flag.
Do not hate on the helmet of salvation.
I'm not hating, but I think these are blatant things that they're doing that kind of, and even before, these are just red flags. And so when we're looking at red flags, when we're dealing with people, so if you have, if you've met someone and you go out on a date with this person, and this person complains about the bill after ordering,
oh no.
Is that a red flag? May not be a deal breaker, but is it a red flag? We talked about deal breakers as well, identifying what it is that, there are things that you're going to put up with, not put up with, blah, blah, blah. So is that a red flag to just say, with the example that I gave, that the person is a cheap person, or is this person possibly prone to drama because you knew what the prices were before you ordered, right? So now that the bill came, why is there an issue? Unless the issue is that they want to make it at that situation between you and them. Red flags can be things that are kind of listed as things that people shouldn't do, or you wouldn't do, or wouldn't tolerate. They could be things that are outside of your moral values, religious values, personal values, that kind of raise your eye to the
that part. Step back. And I think with the red flags also, people don't take the time to get to know one another, or even ask questions. I think, which is why a lot of these influencers are able to market to the people that they market to. They market to people who want the relationship so bad. They want it so bad that they're receptive to any and everything. I think another part of this puzzle is we have to be mindful of what we're conditioning, how we're being conditioned, right? So I think starting with little girls are conditioned. They start out real young, and I can appreciate, and I told you this, Pasha, when you were sharing with me, when you purchased baby dolls for your daughter as a youngster, how it wasn't her baby. No, this isn't your baby. This is your little friend, or this is whatever. This isn't your baby to nurture and do all the mommy type things. You're not mommy. But little girls are raised up on this whole finding a prince that's going to rescue you with the Cinderella and the Snow White and the Rapunzel and all of this stuff. And boys are, whether it's blatant or just something subliminal, and boys, you go out and live your life. You sow your wild oats. What's another thing they say? Boys will be boys. And we raise these two groups of people with completely different ideologies. And then when they become adults, we expect, they're going to get together and live happily ever after. No, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. And with her, and I know, let me pull away from her. I'll just say with women, I think women tolerate so much because they have been conditioned the same way. Boys will be boys. This is what men do. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, you know what? As long as you have a man, or half a man is better than no man, or guess who he's coming home to at night? So all of that creates this whole Derek Jackson situation, creates, every other situation out here in the world. And that's why I said, if she chooses to accept him or stand by her man, I understand where it's coming from. But she just needs to own all of that, because what I don't want to hear you do is claim that you're a victim, because I just feel like at this point, not only at this point, but apparently he's done it before. He's been doing it and you knew about it. And you chose to stay. So guess what? Stay. We don't want to hear your side of the story. Girl, live your life. You and him, go live your life. And you continue being messy in your own little household, because you signed up for that. Signed up for that.
And so how does that look in the real world when we're dealing or coming across people? Because as I was saying before, and I hate this, I sound so nasally, but as I was saying before, we come across a lot of people who like to share information with us. I'll say that, right? And so when we have these conversations, whether it be in group settings or with individuals talking about red flags, and some people see red flags, they see red, blue, yellow, purple, orange, all the goddamn colors on the rainbow, and they decide to continue down the path of a disastrous probability, right? What does that not even what does that look like, but how is that supposed to be processed? If you decide to, if the red flags are there, you see it, and you still decide to go down that path, how responsible are you in the outcome of the said event? So for example, if you're you get into a relationship or you marry somebody with 5 kids, and I'm just throwing out an outlandish situation, not outlandish because that's some people's life, squeeze me. But with that being said, 5 kids, and let's say that this person doesn't have a good relationship with any of their children's mother for whatever reason, and you decide to embark on not only a union, but you decide to procreate with this person, is that not a red flag for you? And how much responsibility is it on that person to not play a victim if it doesn't work out in their best light? Because like you said, women have been conditioned to put up with everything. So
it's an expectation. Like, I honestly feel a lot of women, I'm not going to say all women, but there's a huge segment of women who expect it. Like, they feel like this is a part of the process.
So red flags don't, how important do you think red flags are for women? And not only how important are they, how much importance is placed on identifying a red flag and kind of staying away from it? And then you don't even have to say women. Let's talk about overall, because men out there
that's what I was going to say, because
men do some dumb shit as well.
They do.
So
they don't talk about it.
And they don't talk about it.
I don't think they have the resources, meaning I don't think they sit around the barbershop or talk to their homeboys about a lot of the things that they encounter. And I know you said this, I don't know how many years ago, but men, get you a platonic friend girl. You need to have some platonic friend girls in your life, because what I found is they will share with them,
and be receptive to the information that you're getting, and be just saying, just to be receptive to the information that these female friends are giving, and vice versa, and the information that you're providing to them, because they'll share it, but they may not be receptive to it, because at the end of the day, it's that blockage of this is the way that it's kind of gonna be, or because it's not reinforced by the males, right? This is a woman talking, or this is just you saying that because you a female. No, you need to listen. I think that's one thing that we don't do as people as well. Women don't listen to men, right? And men don't listen to women. They hear what they want to hear half the time, or they withhold what it is that they truly want to say. And then everybody's just operating off of assumptions and perceptions and all of that shit. So being open to the feedback and being open to the dialogue. But yeah, I think men need to get some good female friends that you ain't doing shit with, that's platonic, in order, because if you're not getting it from the men, please get it from the females, because they will, ones that you're not dealing with, that you don't have any romantic involvement with. I think if you get some good ones around you, they'll tell you exactly what time it is. And the same thing with women. I just think that it can't just only be directed towards those particular sources. So if you have a good male friend that kind of is well-rounded, where when he get around the dudes, he's not the one clamming up or being a part of the choir with the foolishness that goes on, because I think men, I'm not a man, but what I can say from my observation is that they don't have those crucial conversations. And if they're in a crucial conversation, some of them may chime in to be like, well, I don't think that you should, but I think they skate, they play scapegoat with it all, or they skate that line in which, well, I don't want to tell him what he should do because he a man. What? You shouldn't. You shouldn't look at it as telling people what to do. You should look at it as being a friend of this person. If this is truly how you feel, and friends are supposed to be able to exchange information and have conversations, then you should be able to look at it as an opportunity to talk and have open dialogue. Like if your husband, or if your friend cheating on his wife, just as an example, you don't have to tell him, man, you don't need the blase blah, but I think it is your responsibility, because they're bringing it to you for you. If you don't believe that the person should be doing that, to kind of say that. I don't think you should be mute. I don't think that you should sit back and be like, well, it ain't me, or I don't want to say nothing because he a grown man, or whatever. I think you help that cycle of men thinking that it's okay, because you know what? They don't have enough people around them telling them it's not okay.
And going back to the conditioning, everything else in the world is telling them it's okay. And the source of that, I think we need to pay attention to that, because the source of that is breaking down our community. The source of that is breaking down families. The source of that is contributing to all of this mental anguish and instability that we keep perpetuating because we're not having these conversations. So to your point, folks who ignore the red flags, look, I've gotten to the point, Pastor, I told you I've just stepped back. Look, people I think people are very well aware of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And if they choose to accept that, hey, live your life. Do you, boo? Do you? Because it's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't have, and I say this all the time, I don't have any initials in front of my name or after my name. I can't help you. I can't undo. I shouldn't say I can't. You have to decide what you're willing to put up with. So let's go back to the red flags. I think some red flags people feel as though they can endure, they can tolerate, they can change. That's another thing. I think that's very, very true. People go into relationships. I know they say women do it, but men do it too. Yep. Go into a relationship thinking you can change a person.
Or if I do this, they will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think people are very selfish in relationships, meaning they go into relationships with an expectation of what the other person should be doing for them and not that reciprocity that should take place. So, and I've seen this conversation a lot, and I'll just say it from a woman's point of view. You expect him to pay all the bills. You expect him to do whatever, all of this stuff, housework, mow grass, all of this stuff. Okay, so what are you going to do? What you mean what I'm going to do? You know? And I think that's a conversation that as women, we need to ask ourselves, what do we bring to a relationship? And what are our relationship goals? What are we trying to do here? Is it just, you know what, you cute. I like you. Let's do this. Like, from what I see, I think that's how people approach relationships.
Oh, yeah. I think
you cute, you got a good job. Let's do this. And as far as conversation and talking about character and goals.
Oh, do people even identify a person's character?
I don't know. I don't know.
Outside of the superficial, character, I'm glad that you brought that up. Character is...
Do you want this person potentially being the parent to your child or influencing? If you have a child already, is this the type of person that you want to influence
based upon their current character?
Based upon their current character. Or influencing you. Can you bring this person around your family and not feel embarrassed or, can they interact on a certain level? I don't know. But I just think we are too quick to rush into relationships, not having these conversations. And I think in some cases, people aren't even looking for relationships. They're looking for the next new thing. One person may be looking for a relationship and the other person may be looking for the next new thing. But because you're in such a hurry to get claimed by someone or to get intertwined with someone, you don't pay attention to what's really happening in front of you.
Don't pay attention to them red flags.
And then what you said before, have we even identified, going back to deal breakers, do you even know what your deal breakers are? So when you see those first signs, you're like, I'm out because this is a deal breaker for me.
I don't think most people are. I think, even when you ask them, and this sounds very cliche-ish, but I know we talked about this a while ago, identifying what are your wants and your needs, right? Whether that be personal wants and needs, in relationships, yada, yada, yada. So I think we deal with a large demographic of single women, right? I think that's definitely a part of our podcast population. And I know, I'm quick to ask somebody, so what you looking for? What are your wants? What is your ever-changing list of things that you're looking for? What's on it? And most people say, I don't have a list. Or I have it in my head. Okay, well, what are some of the things on your list? And then they start to stuttering and fumbling. So if you're out here looking for something and you don't know what it is, are you going to find that thing or are you going to find anything?
Empty thing. Like I said, I think most people are just so, they want to be desired and loved and claimed so much. And this isn't just women. I know men the same, who have the same issue.
And they want this false narrative that's being perpetuated by social media.
And they contribute to it.
So
guess what? Some of you, hello, we know you in real life.
Mm-hmm.
We know you in real life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all your posting, it's entertaining. And I think that also contributes to some of the just the cynicism around it. You know, it's like, how dare so going back to Derek Jackson. So all of this he's been talking about, and you haven't even been living up to what you've been saying. So now you're creating everything that you claimed that you were trying to put out there for women.
That you were trying to help. That you were trying to help.
That you're trying to help. Now you have a large segment of your followers who are now disenchanted again because they held you up. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault that they put you on the pedestal,
because that's a problem.
You're contributing to the problem.
Yep.
And now you're going to have this whole group of women who are now, men ain't shit.
You deposited back into that bank of this cyclic problem. You sat out here, and I won't say that it was all his fault, and I'm glad that you brought that up. It wasn't his fault that people put him up there. He contributed to it, but it was his audience that put him up there if they had any inkling or inclination that he was above doing the shit that he did, right? That's y'all problem. That's y'all fault. That ain't mine. But now, and that's where I said the perversion comes in, is that he was telling you not to put up with X, Y, and Z on Monday, but on Tuesday, he was dicking down the next female. My God.
And going back to
allegedly
the video, allegedly. So going back to the videos, based on what I read, a lot of people didn't even know he was married.
Again.
So if you are a relationship guru and you have all this great advice, wouldn't it? And I'm not a PR person.
No, you said it.
Would it not be beneficial to at least have your wife or reference her? People didn't even know you were married.
But you said it already.
What did I say, girl?
He marketed himself in a manner where he was aesthetically pleasing, right? He gave information that people wanted to hear. And he also marketed himself that he was, in fact, one of those people that he was talking about, right? He never marketed himself as I'm in a relationship and yada, yada, yada. He marketed himself to me like he was one of the good guys, one of the single good guys. You know what I'm saying? And that is what makes money. Married men in good relationships that bring their partners in, that kind of spit it, I think, from both sides. I don't see too many of them out there from a social media perspective. And there may be a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure if they're as popular as the single, air quotes, single dude who's out here telling you what you should put up with in your relationship, because the mystery or the appeal to that is that he is what I am looking for. You know, if you're married, then you're off limits. But if you're actually single,
to some,
But to most, if you're single, you're actually a part of the population. Like you're still, it's a possibility that you're going to get this as a single person. It's all about the marketing, I think. And you also made the point where you said you can kill the messenger sometimes, but you can't kill the message, right? So let's not sit here and say that this dude said all stuff that was kind of like trash. It wasn't. It's just unfortunate that it was aligned with him because he didn't walk the walk. But as long as there's going to be people out there who's going to be open to or willing to receive it or buy the information, because when all this stuff was going on in March and we kind of looked in, and this is one thing that, before we end this podcast, I also want to say that there seems to be a business aspect of all of this that has happened. So I remember Tasha K saying something like he was in talks with TD Jakes about something. So there's a monetary aspect to it all. When he did the first video, at least the one that I saw where he was by himself talking about how he did some shit, but he didn't have sex. He talked about his book and referenced his book there. When he did in the third or fourth video, when he was sitting in the car analyzing the video he did. The third person video.
And he said, I'm going to reference myself in third person.
He did.
And when he said that with a smirk, he's playing into that whole narrative because that was a part of the conversation. Everybody was going in like, why are you talking about yourself in third person? But even in that video, he pinned the book.
He pinned the book when he did the live with his wife. He pinned the book. He pinned his website. So I think we have to look at the big red flag and kind of digest. First and foremost, are we invested in these people's lives more than what we need to be? Now, I'm going to say for me and Sheneka, I know this is for entertainment purposes only. But some people are actually buying the books. We went to the website when all this stuff was going on.
It's like 20 books for $5.99.
20 books for $5.99. But let him say that his retail price for all this material that he have on his site is like over $3,000. So are we being played because there's a way that him or his wife is trying to monopolize off of this situation from a monetary perspective? Because his book keeps coming up. Remember, I told you the timeline is he started advertising or marketing his book prior to all this stuff coming out. The book gets pinned every time he does a video or he references the book and yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to tell you, I think the dude has tons of content out there. I don't know him I don't think I know him to reference some type of merchandise more than what he has referenced in the last goddamn 30 days. That's just me. His wife seems to have become a very social or active on social media. I'm not sure. I can tell you this, though, that what we don't need to do is get wrapped up into other people's lives, because at the end of the day, these people may come out with a payday, right? And they may go about their business and sit here and have, I'm going to say, the have-nots still hungry for what they got going on in their lives, and they've moved on from this situation. I think also that the people who have been Derek Jackson followers, even though he possibly had tried to alert them to red flags and situations like that, I think these are the people who kind of don't, who may not take what he was saying for granted. I mean, take it as truth and maybe walking in the light that he was trying to provide this information, or that people need to just ingest this information on a whole. Like, red flags are red flags, bottom line.
Yeah. And I also want to throw this out. Do the work, do the self-work, instead of following all of these people. Look, go get you a therapist, go lay on somebody's couch, read a book, but do some self-analyzation, some self-work, heal. And I know all of this is becoming so cliche now, but it's so true, because I think because people haven't taken that time to just hold the mirror up to themselves, that they're more susceptible to falling victim to all of this. And I shouldn't even say falling victim, but they're more susceptible to just being open to this type of
behavior,
to the behavior, to manipulation.
Manipulation, that's a good one.
Yeah, you allow yourself, because you're not holding up the mirror to yourself. And I just know people. I see it online. People are and there's one group we're in particular. Look, sometimes I just go in. I'm like, yeah, girl, you do that. You keep doing what you doing.
Shit.
I'm being a butthole, because look, if it's fake, it's fake. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I know real people in real life who are in the same situation. And it's like, keep doing what you're doing, girl. Just keep on doing what you're doing, homeboy. Because at the end of the day, you know that this doesn't feel good to you. You have to know this doesn't feel good. You're not happy. You are not happy. So why are you still participating in this foolishness? But at the end of the day, they're lacking something. They're trying to fill a void. They're trying to distract themselves from whatever it is. So it makes it really, really hard to, I don't even want to say identify the red flags, because I believe people see the red flags. I believe they ignore the red flags because they want what they want so bad. So,
and I think that's a good takeaway. Don't become comfortable in red flags because you're ultimately wanting something, right? Don't disregard it. Don't be okay with it because ultimately you want this relationship or you want this friendship. Let's talk about friendships. Or let's talk about toxic family members. Don't put up with certain things because that's what you want when you know it's not the best thing for you.
And it's funny you even said the toxic family members, because I think that's another area where people say, that's your mom, that's your dad. You need to listen to what they have to say, or you just need to suck it up. And I don't subscribe to that. Look, everybody can get it. Ignore, walk away. They can get the feedback. Look, I'm not dealing with you. No, you're not going to talk to me that way. You are going to respect me as I respect you. If you can't do that, then we can sever this.
Yep.
No love lost.
None.
But I'm not about to stand here and allow this type of toxic relationship. So I think even like friends, family, we need to be mindful of what we're reinforcing, because the very thing we're reinforcing is detrimental to people individually and us as a whole, as a community of people. It's detrimental. I can't. You got my blood pressure up.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get your blood pressure up because we are at the end of this podcast. I didn't mean to get your blood pressure up, but I think we had a lot of stuff to talk about. And we needed to kind of catch up and move full circle and talk about some things that we've seen that have been going on that, we thought should be brought to light. Sheneka, do you have anything else?
Do I? No. The only takeaway I really want people to truly, truly sit in is the whole self-reflection. Hold the mirror up. Sit down and identify what you're willing to deal with. Also, what do you want? Like, think about your life 20, 30 years from now. When you look back, how do you want to see your life? And start manifesting that shit. I think that's another overrated term, but start manifesting that shit right now. Like, look, live in the moment in these COVID streets. You can be taken out tomorrow, child.
You can.
Over this foolishness, and you're not living your best life. At least identify you're happy. Live in your happy place. Pasha, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is, at the end of the day, protect your whole damn self. By any means. Boundaries are healthy.
Yes.
Boundaries should be created. Protecting your energy is necessary, but it's a lot that's going on. People will do to you what you allow for them to do to you. Identify red flags and act appropriately and be strong enough to act accordingly. But at the end of the day, protect your whole damn self by any means necessary. That's all I gotta say. Oh, one thing I do have to say, we are going to try to do better with our podcast this year, but what we would like for you to do is make sure that you are following Real Talk with Pasha B on Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure that Spotify, my bad. Make sure that you subscribe and you turn on your notifications and all that good stuff. We will definitely try to get to more content in 2021.
I'm hungry because my breakfast is worn off.
Well, on that note, people, we are going to be out. And until next time,
whoop, whoop, later.
Peace.
This is Real Talk with Pasha B.